So today I'm going to be doing a review of the Sinn 556. It is definitely one of those watches where people kind of aspire to own it. It straddles that line between luxury and mid-range. So definitely an interesting piece. Let's see what it's all about. We have about a 38.5 millimeter diameter, a lug to lug of just under 45.5, a height of just over 11 millimeters with a 20 millimeter lug width. Really nice smaller sized pilot's watch with a pretty tame lug to lug length, so it'll wear pretty good on smaller wrists. We're looking at sapphire crystal on both the front and the back. We have an AR coating in the front crystal on both sides, which is unfortunate because some people sometimes claim that the front AR coating gets scratched because obviously the AR coating is a little less scratch resistant than sapphire itself. But it does lend to a crystal which kind of disappears in most lightings. It's not the most reflective crystal, and you are actually able to see the dial elements a lot clearer. It is a 200 meter water resistant watch with a screw down crown, an SW200 top grade movement in here. Some of them have ETA 2824, so it just depends. I believe just the newer models have the SW200. Stated accuracy of plus or minus 4 to 15 a day. I'm getting about -2, and 38-hour power reserve. Moving on to the dial, it's simplicity personified. Has everything you need and nothing you don't. Has the date for people who like that there, tells the time, and it does it well. Very legible with the very black inky dial. You have the nice contrast with the white indexes as well as the white hands. You can tell that they're actually blackened out at the edges here, which in some lights, this is right here, you kind of see it disappears and it looks like you just have the floating white portions. But honestly, most of the time you can see the black portions of the hands, and because it contrasts so much from the dial, I feel like it's something they shouldn't have done. I would have preferred all white hand myself, but it is nice. It's nice to see they kept the text very minimal, just Sinn and automatic. They could have maybe not included automatic. I don't think it's the most important text to be there. I would have maybe preferred Sinn in Germany on the dial. I don't know, it's less traditional, but I would have liked to see that. But very, very clean dial, very nicely done, very simple, can't really go wrong. Moving a little closer, we can see how fairly well done this dial is. All the elements I like because they do just stand out. We got very monochromatic look, all black, all white. I think something to notice is that all the white accents, the hands, the markers, the indices, they really just all are pretty much the same shade of white. No matter kind of which lighting you get it in, it does look cohesive. The one thing I'm usually a little wary about is sometimes you get hands that look a different shade of white from the markers or vice versa or whatever, and it just takes away from the beauty of the watch really. As you can see, no frame date wheel, keeping it simple. One thing I do want to note is that this date wheel, as you can see, is much different than the dial itself. You can just see how inky and almost ceramic like this black dial is, while the date wheel is a little bit more of a traditional, rougher, lighter black gray, which does stand out very often. And I think if they would have just gone for a finishing similar to the dial, it would have looked a lot better and made the date actually stand out more as well. Printing is done very well. The lume applied to those markers give them a nice puffiness, which gives a little bit of depth to the dial itself. One thing I will note is nothing's ever perfectly done. As you can see, there's like a little speck, maybe a piece of lume missing or just a spot of fuzz on it. A little extra material on the edge of the hand there. Over here, if we go to the hour hand, you can see if we turn it, there's actually a missing portion of lume along the edge there. So although it is executed well, it looks good, it all blends very well together. Even the hand stack is all nicely finished. Although you have some of these slight imperfections, it is not bad by any means. None of it comes to life on the wrist. It's just going at this super close angle that you really see some of these things. So overall, it's pretty well done. Moving on to the case of this watch, it is pretty much as simple as you can get. We have an all brushed case. As you can see, circular brushing along the lug tops there. Same type of brushing along the bezel. We do have a nice kind of a sectioning to this bezel where it kind of slopes down here. It gives a nice dimensionality, a nice lead towards the crystal down to the watch itself. Again, brushing here horizontally on the case side crowned. Nice kind of curvature to those lugs, and we have drilled lug holes, which is just always nice. I really like when companies include it because you can change straps easy. It just prevents you from scratching up your watch even more. And I think it just looks cool as well. We have this beautiful H-Link style bracelet. It is very comfortable. And if you don't have a lot of H-Link style bracelets, it's nice to have because it definitely just gives a different look, different visual presence from the wrist. So that is nice. We have a nice signed clasp, 2-part closure. What I will notice is when you close the clasp, it's not the most reassuring of clicks. It takes sometimes a little bit of force to get it in there. It is a nice proper milled clasp, but I think there's a little bit of refinement that can go on in this section. Of course, right now it's sounding pretty good, but like you get right there, it can be improved. You have a diver extension under here. Won't really bring it out because you don't really need a diver extension on a pilot's watch, but hey, it's there. You got 3 micro adjust holes. You have these hexagonal screws, which basically you're gonna need a wrench to actually get those out. Sinn provides them in the box. So you just put one on each side and then you twist it and bring it out. It is pretty easy to size once you get the knack of it, and it does feel secure. It's easy to do. It takes less time generally than other bracelets do to size. As you can see, the movement there, not really anything to write home about. Some blued screws. I doubt they're heat blued. A nice custom rotor, and just some information on the back there. So moving on to how the watch wears. Earlier I was wearing this Eterna quartz piece, lovely blue dial on that. Here we have the watch sitting on my 6.5-inch wrist, and overall for what you get, it's pretty awesome. It feels robust, but yet it's in a small package. It's not too thick, but you get that 200 meters of water resistance. It can basically have the feeling of being able to be bashed around, but it's not overbearing on the wrist. As you can see, definitely sits within the span of my wrist. If I show you from this angle, as you can see, it does conform to the wrist pretty well. Overall, I think they just did perfect on the sizing here. It is not too small. I think the fact that the heft of the bracelet in the case itself just give it a little bit more presence for people who are used to having a little bit more of a watch. The fact that it's so legible really makes it able to be used by people with a little bit poorer eyesight or people with larger wrists who are used to more visual presence. It is a cool watch. It is definitely kind of unique because it's hard to find one of these very cleanly done Flieger styles in the more affordable range. I mean, this retails for I think $1,300-ish new on the bracelet, and you can find them under $1,000 on the secondary market. And without that, you kind of gotta look at brands like Leica or Stova, and with their designs, they're not, I would say, as well executed. Most of them are going to be 40 millimeters or over. This adds not only a level of execution, but a level of elegance some of those watches just don't have. So I really do think this watch will kind of look best on one-piece straps or silicone straps. Here we have the tweed strap or Harris strap from Crown and Buckle, one of my favorite straps. I think the gray just really complements the watch. Looks amazing on it. As you can see, adds a nice texture to it, adds a nice color, but not too crazy. Really like this combo. This is a silicone strap by Monster Strap Co., I believe. Beautiful dark green, and I think it just complements the black face really well. It definitely makes the watch a little more casual, takes it off the bracelet, definitely makes it lighter. More of a maybe summer look to it. You can definitely have fun with other colors, pinks, blues, yellows, whatever floats your boat, but I really like this green here. This watch very much is a tool watch. It has the brushed case, the basically just feeling of being a tool watch, and because of that I feel like it's harder to dress it up a little bit. This is a strap from Vario, and usually it pairs pretty well with watches, but for some reason I just not loving it on this Sinn right here, and pretty much just every leather strap that I have, I don't really love it on this watch. To me, the dressy strap and the tooly watch are just a little bit too much of a difference. So what we see here is the 556 all loomed up. We don't know really what the lume is. I'm just going to assume Super Luminova because it has that green color. You can see it's pretty well applied. No lume on the second's hand, but shines fairly long. Not the best lume in the world, but hey, you got lume. Compared to the Timex here, as we always do, as you can see, it's a little bit of lower color temperature, not as bright, obviously not as good, but hey, at least they got some decent lume on there. So moving on to pros of this watch, basically one of the bigger pros I think is just the sizing. It is well proportioned for smaller wrists. I don't think it's too small at all for larger wrists. It just, I mean, it just looks nice, I think. The construction of the watch is really nice. Basically, it's well made. It has a pretty hefty feel to the bracelet. It feels well constructed. You get 200 meters of water resistance in a very, very slim case that's pretty well wearing. And overall, I think the dial is just kind of really nice. The fact that you got the nice monochromatic black-white stark contrast. You have a very deep inky black, to where a lot of other blacks in other companies are kind of more gray leaning or matte in a way. So I really like that they went for an inky black with this one. So moving on to the cons, one of the bigger ones I think will be the simplicity of the watch. I personally am okay with it, but for some people there's not enough maybe differences in finishing. There's no applied indices. There's no really anything to catch the eye. It just kind of exists there. It is definitely of a tool watch aesthetic, and it's made to tell the time. It's not necessarily made to be beautiful. Any beauty you find in the watch is just going to be a byproduct of the fact that it's well designed. One of the bigger cons for me is the fact that the date window is of a darker black gray versus the deep inky black of the dial itself. It definitely detracts from the watch. It's something I find myself looking at. It's something I think they could have improved on. Yes, it costs more money to do a custom date wheel, and I don't know exactly how much more it would bring up the price, but I would definitely pay for that addition. And along a similar vein, the hands, where they have that slight blacked out portion towards the middle stack and they're white on the ends. I don't like that blacked out portion. Again, it detracts from the monochromatic look in a way. It introduces another color of black. It is definitely a big contrast from the dial. At some very low light situations or shaded situations, they can disappear, but in any kind of real lighting, you'll be able to tell that it's part black, part white hands, which is not a great look for me personally. And overall, I really think they really missed the mark on the seconds hand. It's such a long white section that I don't understand why it's not loomed at all. The fact that you can't tell the running seconds with the loom, or the fact that it's just white as all the other loomed elements are and it's not loomed, it's just kind of weird to me, and something I think they could have definitely at least included at the tip of the mark, tip of the seconds hand or something. So final thoughts for the watch. I mean, it is a great watch. It is well made, well executed, it looks great. For me personally, I've looked a long time for a black dial watch, and it's just kind of hard to find one that's like of a black inky dial, and I definitely found it with this one. Is it the best watch in the world? No. Is it the best watch at the price? Maybe not. I mean, there's definitely watches cheaper, Laurier Falcon, the Laurier Neptune. You can get the Notice Sector Field. You can get the Hamilton Khaki Mechanical. These are all kind of similarly styled or along a similar design aesthetic, and they're half the price or less than half the price. But with some of those watches, you don't get the same kind of refinement. You don't get as much of a you don't get the same kind of build quality in the bracelet. You don't get the relative thinness and curvaceousness of this case with the 200 meters of water resistance. Sinn's really the only one I can think of which this exact kind of design aesthetic. Damasco's the one that comes the closest, but I just prefer the way Sinn executes it most of the time. And it really is a go anywhere, do anything watch, save for some more dressier occasions, but can't really go wrong. So hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. See you in another one.